we are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not, because if we don't do it, Russia or China will take over Greenland, and we're not going to have Russia or China as a neighbor. Okay? I would like to make a deal, the easy way, but if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way.
All right, as you have seen on your screens by this excerpt played for you, this was President Trump making quite a statement that has been spread far and wide on his abundantly clear intentions and plans for Greenland. He has clearly stated that Russia or China will take over Greenland if they don't. And he makes his intentions even clearer by saying that he will be doing something on Greenland, whether they like it or not. Let's listen in.
Thank you. And the policy question. How much money are you thinking of giving people in Greenland to get them on board with a possible U.S. takeover?
I'm not talking about money for Greenland yet. I might talk about that. But right now, we are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not, because if we don't do it, Russia or China will take over Greenland, and we're not going to have Russia or China as a neighbor. Okay?
All right, hello and welcome to another episode of Deep Dive brought to you by NewsX. My name is Vineet Malhotra, and as you just heard Trump's plans on Greenland, I'm sure a lot of questions have arisen, and on the same, we will be going through as many of them as possible here today. What are the potential hard ways that he speaks about is the big question. What are the many ways that President Trump could take control of Greenland is also another question. What all ways is he considering? How many possibilities really there are? Let's take a closer look as to what this entails. US President Donald Trump has asked senior military commanders to prepare contingency plans for a possible invasion of Greenland. Trump directed the Joint Special Operations Command to explore military options for taking control of the Arctic territory, a move that has allegedly alarmed senior officials within the U.S. defense establishment. Trump has asked the Joint Special Operations Command to draft an invasion plan. However, the proposal is said to be facing pushback from the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who argue that any such operation would be unlawful and lack congressional backing. The generals think that Trump's Greenland plan is crazy and illegal. So they are trying to deflect him with the other major military operations. They say, and I quote, "It's like dealing with a 5-year-old." Well, they have tried to distract Trump by talking about less controversial measures such as intercepting Russian ghost ships, a clandestine network of hundreds of vessels operated by Moscow to evade Western sanctions, or launching a strike on Iran. Hardline figures within Trump's inner circle, particularly policy hawks, led by advisor Stephen Miller, have grown increasingly assertive after what they see as the successful operation to capture Venezuela's leader Nicolas Maduro. Emboldened by that outcome, they are now pushing for swift action to take control of Greenland before Russia or China are able to expand their influence in the Arctic. Trump's interest in Greenland may also be driven by domestic political considerations. With midterm elections approaching later this year, there is concern that the president may seek a dramatic foreign policy move to divert attention from the U.S. economy. Amidst fears, Republicans could lose control of Congress to Democrats. Such an action would place Trump on a direct collision course with European leaders and could trigger a profound crisis within the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, potentially bringing the alliance to a breaking point. Diplomatic officials have conducted internal wargaming exercises exploring an escalatory scenario in which Trump could apply military force or sustained political pressure to weaken Greenland's ties with Denmark. A classified diplomatic cable reportedly outlined a worst-case scenario that would lead to the destruction of NATO from within. Some European officials suspect that this is the real aim of the hardline MAGA faction around Trump. A report said, adding that if Trump wants to end NATO, this might be the most convenient way to do it. Since the abduction of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro from Caracas in military operation, Trump and his officials have upped the ante against the Greenlandic capital, Nuuk. So, what are the ways that US President Trump could take control of Greenland, a territory of Denmark? The first possibility could be paying off Greenland's population to influence secession. One approach Trump's administration has reportedly discussed is sending direct payments to Greenlanders, anywhere from about $10,000 to $100,000 per person, in an effort to persuade residents to support independence from Denmark and possibly alignment with the US. By financially incentivizing people individually, the goal would be to shift local opinion towards breaking away from Danish rule, thereby opening a path for the United States to exert control indirectly. Another possibility is attempting to buy Greenland from Denmark. Another hard option would be making an official offer to purchase Greenland as territory, similar in concept to past land purchases like Alaska or the Danish West Indies. Trump's officials have confirmed they are actively discussing such a deal with US lawmakers and may pursue negotiations with Copenhagen. However, Greenland and Denmark have firmly insisted that the island is not for sale, making this a contentious and uncertain strategy. Lastly, a possibility could also be using military force to seize control, the most extreme hard way mentioned by Trump himself, which involves military intervention if diplomatic and economic pressure fails. Trump has not ruled out the use of armed forces, including potentially invading Greenland to forcibly take sovereignty. Such a military move would violate international law and threaten to destroy the NATO alliance, since Denmark, a NATO member, would be acting as Greenland's defender. So what begins as rhetoric today could quickly turn into reality tomorrow. Greenland may be a remote, ice-covered island, but the stakes around it are anything but cold. From diplomacy to force, every option on the table risks reshaping global alliances and testing the very foundations of NATO. Let's talk about this. Joining us on the program is Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar, former diplomat. Ambassador Sajjanhar, sir, always a pleasure having you on the broadcast. Well, first up, Greenland has already said that they are not for sale. What really caught my attention while I was listening to Donald Trump is that he insisted that they do not want Russia or China as their neighbor. Now, the big question is, if Russia or China wanted to invade or in fact capture Greenland, they would have already done so. This seems to be a very bogus statement coming out from the president. But if it actually materializes, it could be the end of NATO, and it could also be an end to the global alliances that we have gotten used to in the last few decades, sir.
No, absolutely. Thank you very much, Vineet, for having me. I quite agree with you. I think this appears to be a rather farcical statement, some sort of a rationalization that the United States is seeking to do. They went into Iraq when they said we are going to, establish democracy there. They went into Afghanistan because it was a global war on terror. They have gone to Venezuela because there was narco-terrorism and drug cartels that were working. So different reasons. They went to Libya as a right to protect of the local citizens, local community there. So different places and different reasons, different rationale, just to make some sort of an argument. And here also, meaning United States already has neighborhood with Russia, because Alaska and the Russian mainland are cheek by jowl with each other. So it's not as if they are very far from each other, that they don't want Russia to be their neighbor. If they can have them as neighbor from Alaska, then but in any case, I don't think I agree with your argument that there is no way that the NATO will sit quiet if there is any attempt to physically take over Greenland, either by Russia or by China. That having been said, and you have very sort of, in great detail explained the various options that the United States and that President Donald Trump has mentioned, that we'll either do it gently. If it doesn't happen gently, then I'm prepared to use force and, take military action there. But that having been said, Vineet, I think we also need to see, it's not the case between Greenland, the relations between Greenland and Denmark. Greenland has been a colony of Denmark since the 17th century. So for all these many years, it used to be first the colony of Norway, and then Norway became a part of Denmark. And when Norway became independent, or moved away from Denmark in 1905, Greenland stayed with Denmark. Now, progressively, the relations between Greenland and Denmark have been becoming more and more tenuous. It is not as if Denmark has direct rule or control over Greenland. Not at all. All the domestic affairs, whether it is transport, communication, it is education, it is commerce, everything is handled by the people in Greenland themselves. They have their own legislature, their own executive, they have their own prime minister. The only thing that is dealt with by Denmark is its defense, its foreign policy. These are the sort of issues that are dealt with by Denmark. So they have, Greenland has also been trying to become fully independent of Denmark, so that they do not have this relationship of a colony. So they don't want, people in Greenland also don't want Denmark to be speaking on their behalf. But they also don't want to become a colony, sort of a colony of the United States. So the issue is rather tricky at the moment, because Greenland wants to get its distance, more of a distance, and get more closer to independence, total independence, and sever its ties with Denmark. But it doesn't really know how to handle the relations with the United States if it comes about. It wants to retain and maintain its independence. So we'll really have to wait and see as to what the final structure is. Greenland in fact, is not very comfortable that Denmark should be speaking on its behalf. Vineet.
Fair enough, sir. Always a pleasure having you, sir. Thank you so much for that perspective and those valuable insights. We take a short break right now. We'll be back.